Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Kyla Hannington, and I'm the Public Outreach and Engagement Division Manager with the Prince George's County Office of Human Rights, the county's Civil and Human Rights Education and Enforcement Agency. Welcome to today's community conversation. Community Conversations are a partnership series between the Prince George's County Memorial Library System and the Office of Human Rights. And with me today as co-host is my colleague, Tiana Davis from the Office of Human Rights. And we are missing our frequent collaborator, Dr. Audrey Lau from the library system today, but we thank them, the system and Audrey, for their ongoing partnership. Today, we are so excited to introduce you to the Climate Change Action Officer from Prince George's County, Kaitlin Dickinson. Katie is the Climate Action Officer within Prince George's County Department of the Environment, where she drives the implementation of the County Climate Action Plan and guides the execution of climate-related strategies and initiatives. Before beginning this role in March of 2025, Katie worked with the U.S. Department of Treasury, where she served as the Climate Change and Sustainability Specialist in charge of managing the department's first sustainability office. Prior to Treasury, Katie worked on green workforce development and climate action implementation for Chabot-Las Positas Community College District in the San Francisco Bay Area. Katie holds a Master of Science in Climate Science and Solutions from the Northern Arizona University. Welcome, Kaitlin. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Kyla and Tiana, and thank you everyone for joining. As Kyla said, my name is Katie Dickinson, Climate Action Officer for Prince George's County, a role that I've been blessed to be in since March of this year. So I'm coming up on quick math, eight months with the county, and have loved my time here, met some amazing people. Just a little bit about me, just why I got started in this work. Is I grew up in the West Coast, so mainly Arizona, Oregon, California, and a lot of my family are wildland firefighters on the West Coast where I'm from. And so growing up, I recognized firsthand that wildfire season is getting worse. Fires are harder to control. And actually during my senior year of high school, 19 members of a hotshot crew tragically lost their lives fighting a fire in a town just up the road from where I went to high school. So growing up in the West made me realize that addressing the climate crisis is about fighting for people's lives. So I wanted to be part of the climate solution, and I'm excited to present on all the stuff that me and my team are working on, go into a little bit about what climate change means specifically in the context of Prince George's County, and then wrap up with some critical solutions, and then hoping to have a great discussion with you all as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so for those listening, I know that Katie is going to have some interactive elements for you. And so maybe if you have a cell phone, have it ready to grab some QR codes, and please feel free to use the chat feature to engage with any questions that you have. We are going to share them as time allows as we're doing this discussion today. This is also for all of you watching at home. This is your time as well to learn and engage with Prince George's County government. Katie, I know you have some slides for us. Do you want me to put them on screen now?
Absolutely. That'd be great.
All right, here we go.
All right, thank you all. I'll go to the next slide. So as I mentioned, this is the agenda for today. So I'll go into, well, first I'll start with a little bit of an icebreaker activity, and then I'll go into what climate change really means for Prince George's County, go into current climate action initiatives that I'm working on, as well as the county is working on, go into some solutions and resources, and then finally discussion and Q&A at the end. So the first icebreaker activity that I'd like everyone to do, if you'd be so kind to oblige, is for everyone to take out your phones, and I'm going to actually do it too, so I can follow along here. And what you'll see is what's called a climate emotions wheel, which was created by Creative Commons and the Climate Mental Health Network. The background of this is, the climate crisis is an enormous challenge to tackle. And whether you've read about climate change in the news, witnessed its effects firsthand, learned about it in school, or talked about it with friends, family, Sometimes these emotions can be negative, sometimes positive. This wheel was created as a tool to help identify and bring awareness to your emotions about the climate crisis. Naming our climate emotions is really important because actually
Hold on, I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you. One of our viewers is saying they can't see it, so I'm just gonna say, if you're watching on screen, I'm so sorry for interrupting you, Katie, but for viewers, if you see the QR code, if you take your phone and you hit the camera button and you hold your phone up and you try to square up that QR code on your screen, at the bottom of your screen, you should get a little yellow link. And you want to click on that, and that should take you to a web page that looks like that, where you can then make some choices of, okay, we got it. We're good to go. I'm so sorry. Our viewers get to go. Continue, Katie. Thank you.
No worries. And apologies. I didn't really explain that very well. And you also don't have to use a QR code. You can go to menti.com and then it'll prompt you to type in that code. So that just type in that 8-digit code, and it'll show you this like circular chart. And so what you do is you pick like an emotion that elicits, that is elicited when you think about the climate crisis, because brain imaging has actually shown that by labeling and recognizing an emotion, we can actually experience or reduce experience of distress. So please take a moment to look at the wheel and name the emotion that you're feeling in this moment, recognizing that emotions are constantly changing and are fleeting, but everyone's emotions are valid. Let me see if I can go into what everybody said here. Yep. All right. It looks like we've got some people in the frustration. That's what I put. Someone said interest, empathy, got some fear, powerlessness. Yep.
Well, I want to give out shout out to all the people who said empathy and interest, because I was like panic, anxiety, resentment. I was all the negative emotions. I feel like I'll take responsibility for those. So to people out there who are feeling hopeful and kind, I bless you. So.
Yeah, truly. Well, this is great. Thank you for obliging. I think the wheel shows that people are feeling climate emotions, and that's something that we're surprisingly still pretty collectively silent about. And I think seeing the emotions wheel is a reminder that at the very simplest level, there's a spectrum of states that others have felt before us, that we feel now, and there's also options there's other options of what we can feel. And so I find myself, I chose the frustration. And again, this is a daily change. Sometimes I feel more uplifted. I think a lot of the time in my work, there's some good days, as you can imagine, there's some bad days. But most of the time I like to tell myself, I'm optimistic. There's still a lot that we can save. But just wanted to let everybody know that, for those who are feeling more negative emotions, I get it. Your emotions are valid, but there is still time to avert the worst. Thousands of leading scientists from all over the world agree. We have the solutions. We just now must implement them. So I appreciate everybody taking their time out to do that. Now I'll go into climate change and what it means specifically for Prince George's County. So this is a quote from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. It's an intergovernmental body of the United Nations whose job is to advance scientific research about climate change caused by human activities. And every few years or so, they release new comprehensive assessments that are written by the world's leading climate scientists who volunteer their time to provide a scientific consensus and basis for governments around the world to make climate policies. And this quote from IPCC AR6 synthesis report from 2023 states that human activities, principally through emissions of greenhouse gases, have unequivocally caused global warming. So to understand what's happening at a local level here in Prince George's County, I think it's imperative to first look at the grander scale of the climate crisis and climate change. So in the last century, human activities, primarily through the burning of fossil fuels, deforestation, and agricultural practices, have led to the release of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, which creates a sort of blanket around Earth's atmosphere and disrupts Earth's energy balance. We know that Earth's climate has naturally varied in its 4.5 billion year history because of natural things like how the Earth's axis is tilted, volcanic eruptions, major shifts in Earth's tectonic plates. And these variations, going all the way back 800,000 years ago, are depicted by these. Can you all see my cursor, by the way?
No.
Moving it? Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, I'll just have to be more descriptive. So that all these changes and fluctuations are displayed on that. I guess to me, I'm kind of optically challenged, but I think it's light purple line. All of those different, levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere for the past 800,000 years are depicted by that line. Throughout that time, concentrations of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere were never more than 300 parts per million. As you can see in the kind of middle there, highest previous 300 ppm. And in 2013, the concentration hit 400 parts per million for the first time in likely over 3 million years. And the increase in the last 60 years is 100 times faster than previous natural increases. As you can see, the big spike toward the end. And on the geological time scale, the increase from the end of the last ice age, which was around, that last little dip, to the present value of 422.8 parts per million looks virtually instantaneous. And that instantaneous spike is a direct result of humans burning fossil fuels on a massive scale, beginning in the late 1800s. And on the next slide, we're going to zoom a little bit more into this graph and just look at the last 170 years of Earth's history. So this graph shows the yearly global average temperature compared to the 20th century average from the years 1850 to 2023. The red bars on the right mean warmer than average years, blue bars on the left mean colder than average years. And the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is depicted in parts per million by that gray line that's going up as the temperature rises. So as you can see, the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere, as it's gone up, so too has the global average temperature, because as I mentioned, the more greenhouse gases in the atmosphere creates a thicker blanket around Earth. So this roughly 2-degree Fahrenheit increase in global average surface temperature that has occurred since the late 1800s might seem small, but it represents a significant increase in heat energy that has to circulate through all of the parts of Earth's systems, including the oceans, frozen landscapes, and the atmosphere. And the impacts of this is now being felt all around the world. So I have another fun activity if you want to get out your phones. If not, you can go to natureconservancy.com. I think you can type in, how much CO2 was in the atmosphere the year you were born. But the easy way is just scan that QR code, and then it'll have you go to a drop-down menu. You can select the year you were born, and it'll tell you how much CO2 was in the atmosphere the year you were born. And just as a reference, right now, the average concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere last year was 422.8 parts per million. So it's interesting to see between the year you were born and now, how much that concentration of parts per million has gone up. Just for me, I was born in the mid-90s, and so there was a concentration of 362 parts per million the year I was born. So it's gained about 60 parts per million in just under 30 years, which is quite unusual. All right, so shrinking the scope from global to countrywide now, this graph shows the inflation-adjusted history of billion-dollar disasters each year in the United States from 1980 to 2024, showing the event type in colors, the frequency on the left-hand vertical axis, and the cost on the right-hand vertical axis. So as you can see, the number and cost of weather and climate disasters is rising due to the influence of human-caused climate change. The US now experiences a billion-dollar disaster once every 3 weeks on average, compared to once every 4 months in 1980. More than 12 private and public sector data helped capture this data, and some of the costs, both insured and uninsured, reflected in here are physical damage to buildings, time element losses to businesses, damage to physical infrastructure like boats, bridges, levees. However, these disaster costs do not cover damages or losses to environmental degradation, physical health care related costs, or the value of a statistical life. Therefore, these estimates should be considered conservative with what is respected, or with respect to what is truly lost. Okay, so what is the evidence of climate change in Prince George's County? Taking it to a local scale, this graph from NOAA shows the average yearly temperatures in Prince George's County from 1896 to 2025. Here we see that the average yearly temperature in the county has risen 0.2 degrees Fahrenheit per decade, which might not seem significant, but each fraction of a degree matters here. Think of when you have a fever and you add a half a degree to that, you add a half a degree to your typical 98.6 degree temperature, you feel a little crummy. Add another half a degree, you feel worse, call out of work. Add another, you might have to go to the hospital. It's kind of similar to Earth's climate system. Consequences differ at each degree of warming and in different parts of the world. For example, they'll be most severe in places that are most vulnerable, like island nations. And every degree matters, and anything that we can do to draw down those emissions will benefit us and future generations. So this is kind of a complicated slide, but bear with me. We know that our planet's climate is changing because of measurable and observed increases in air, surface, and ocean temperatures, increased atmospheric greenhouse gas emissions, and decreased glacial and ice cover, as you can see on the second tier there. And that's all because of, again, our fossil fuel usage, waste practices, land use practices are contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. So at the local level, as greenhouse gases continue to rise, this takes form in higher average temperatures, exacerbated heat waves, extreme precipitation, flooding, severe storms, and increased drought risk, as you can see on the second to bottom tier there. These climate hazards result in a cascading effect that affects all aspects of our community systems in Prince George's County. Floods can harm our physical infrastructure, our health. Climate hazards can affect our supply chain and disrupt local businesses and our economy. When you really think about it, humans rely on our environment for everything. And so when climate events occur, their effects trickle down into every aspect of society. And what I really want to depict on this slide is that the sheer scale of issues that will be exacerbated by climate change necessitates a joint whole of government, whole of community approach in Prince George's County to secure a just and livable future for all Prince Georgians. This is the last slide of this section. Just wanted to provide you with some context on what the different sources of greenhouse gas emissions are in the county. So this is a snapshot from Prince George's County Climate Action Plan. This study is from 2018, but the percentages are still similar. So community-wide emissions by sector, the biggest one is from transportation, then residential energy use, commercial energy use, and the other is from what we call fugitive emissions, which comes from things like leaky gas pipes and water treatment. And then on the right is the emissions specifically from county operations. And that includes solid waste as a big chunk, then vehicle fleet, buildings and facilities, our transit fleet and streetlights and traffic signals. All right, so now I've gotten through all of the science that I'm gonna make you go through today. I just want to say that, you know, while the outlook is dire, it shouldn't be cause for fatalism and inaction. This quote is also from the IPCC AR6 synthesis report. It says, "The extent to which current and future generations will experience a hotter and different world depends on choices now and in the near term." So what this means is we still have time. There's still so much we can save. The solutions are already at our fingertips. We just need the manpower and the movement to implement them. And a lot of this work is already underway throughout the world, throughout the country, and here in Prince George's County, which I will share with you over the next few slides. So all aspects within my job purview are rooted within two documents, the Climate Action Plan and the Climate Action Implementation Strategy Plan. So the Climate Action Plan outlines 26 priority recommendations to ultimately achieve a 50% emissions reduction goal by 2030 based off 2005 emissions levels, and eventually carbon neutrality by 2050. The Climate Action Implementation Strategy Plan is a relatively newer document. It's kind of a roadmap based off of the Climate Action Plan, but it's more practical and actionable and relatable to the county government outcomes. So these are really the two documents that I look to when we implement climate action in the county. And this is just a snapshot of the timeline to provide some more context as to where we are with implementing climate action in the county. So all the way on the left, you can see in April 22, the County Council adopted the county's draft climate action plan. In May 2022, an executive order authorized the creation of a climate action implementation task force. Then the task force took about 2 years to write the Climate Action Implementation Strategy Plan, which I just shared with you as one of the two documents that's kind of a roadmap based off of the Climate Action Plan. In March 2025, I was hired to operationalize the Climate Action Implementation Strategy Plan across all county agencies. Then in May 2025, I started the Interagency Climate Committee, which is composed of 2 representatives from all county agencies and quasi-government agencies, whose mission is to establish a whole of government approach to implementing the Climate Action Implementation Strategy Plan, recognizing that Department of Environment can't possibly do all of this climate action implementation alone. We need everybody on board. Then in July 2025, Department of Environment created the Climate and Energy Division. And in November 2025, we have some exciting projects and things coming up that I'm going to share with you on the next slides. But the Brave Boy Climate Leadership Summit is coming up. We have a Solarize campaign and a solar grant launch and a Resilience Hub grants launch as well. So I'll get to those in the next few slides. The first opportunity and exciting project that I've been working on for the past several months is the Brave Boy Climate Leadership Summit, which everybody is more than invited and welcome to attend. please scan the QR code. I'm sorry, I realize I'm overloading you all with QR codes today, but scan the QR code and it'll take you to the RSVPFI website and you can register for the summit. So the summit is being held next Thursday, November 20th from 10 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. at Bowie State University's Student Center. We are expecting over 250 local leaders from all sectors, government, education, business, residents, utilities, to attend for a day of networking and charting a path forward for accelerating climate action in the county. Opening remarks will be provided by County Executive Braveboy. Our keynote speaker will be Serena McElwain, who is the Secretary for the Maryland Department of the Environment. And we also have interactive activities and panel discussions on a variety of climate-related topics throughout the day. So again, please scan the QR code if you're interested.
I'm just going to jump in here for a second, Katie, for two reasons. Number one, I just tried to scan the QR code and I am not able to get it to work. So that I admit could be my own user error, but if it's possible to get a link and you can type it in the private chat if you want, and I can get it over to our viewers if you are able to find a link. And the other thing is that I did put a link into the chat for viewers about just the DOE's climate action code. Climate action page, and somebody has commented and they're looking for the implementation document that you referenced, unable to find it on that webpage. Do you know if that implementation document is public and how we could maybe get it to them or find the link for that?
Yes. So apologies that the QR code isn't working. I am putting the link to the RSVPFI site in the chat right now. So that should work. And then as far as the climate action implementation strategy plan, that I don't believe has been made publicly available yet, but I can, Kyla, if there's a way for me to send the PDF to you and it can be distributed later, if that works.
Yeah, I would say when it's public, we can also make sure that it's out on the webpage and we can link it out publicly too.
Okay.
And I just, for viewers, we put the direct link for the RSVP for this QR code. If you, like me, are having trouble accessing that QR code, the direct link is in the chat now where you're watching on either Facebook or YouTube. If for some reason that's not working and you're struggling and you would like to get that information so that you can respond, I'm just going to put really quickly our office's email address on the screen. This is for the Office of Human Rights, and you can always write to me. My name is Kyla here, and say that you would like that link to register for the event that that Katie is talking about.
Yes, and I just realized I've been putting the links in our private chat. So
it's okay. I took it and put it in. You're good. Okay. I'm moving them over. You're okay.
All right. Well, obviously I'm not the most technologically savvy person, but appreciate it. Yeah, apologies, y'all. But yeah, please come if you're available. Next project that I wanted to share with you all is the newly launched Prince George's County Community Resilience Hub grant program, which is now open. Resilience hubs are defined as trusted community serving facilities that are supposed to support the community before, during, and after climate-related events. They complement emergency facilities like cooling and heating centers by serving as a coordination point for communications, distributing resources, building community cohesion, and advancing climate mitigation and adaptation goals year-round. So there's a list of who's eligible to apply. It's going to be administered by Chesapeake Bay Trust. Applications will be accepted on a quarterly basis, and the first deadline is December 22nd, 2025. For more information, visit the Chesapeake Bay Trust website, and I can get that link as well. Or, Kyla, I just heard you typing away at it. So
I did just type about it. The reason I typed it because I'm having a little trouble with your audio, and I wasn't sure if it was me or not. And so I was trying to send Tiana a secret message to find out if she was having audio problems too. It's not
Okay.
secret anymore. We're gonna find out if we are having Tiana. Are we having audio problems?
It cut out for me a little bit as well.
Okay. It may be that what's happening right now, Katie, is that when you are trying to Google in the background, we're losing your audio on the platform that we're using. So I think maybe the best thing to do here is just continue with your presentation. As it relates to links, if they're not popping up, first of all, I'll listen and try and grab them, but also I'll put our website up, our email again up, so people can email me, and you can email me with those links, and I can distribute them as people reach out to us. Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah, apologies for that. Yes, so this is
the Chesapeake Bay Trust website. I will get that.
Yep.
I'll pull it up. Okay.
Yep.
So everyone, I'll put it in the chat in just a moment.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Another exciting opportunity that I wanted to share with everybody is the Prince George's County Climate Stewards Academy. It's a program funded by DOE and Chesapeake Bay Trust and administered by the University of Maryland Environmental Finance Center. It's an education and stewardship training program where Prince George's County residents who are 18 and older can apply to learn climate adaptation and resilience strategies, establish community connections, and gain the skills necessary to assess their communities and lead implementation projects. And as I said, anybody in Prince George's County who's a resident are encouraged to apply, regardless of your pre-existing climate knowledge. The application deadline is December 1st at 11:59. And to apply, you can click here. I'll share the slides as well with everybody, or email efc_climateaction@umd.edu with any questions. The next project that I'd love to share is the Solarize campaign and the Solar Energy Grant, which is being administered and led by the Department of Environment's Climate and Energy Division. This is coming in November 2025. I was told by the program manager of these programs that it should be within the next 6 to 7 days. So be sure to check out Department of Environment's website for more details, or you can call the number listed below or email that email listed for more information. But the Solarize campaign is a county-based initiative that is going to provide educational resources and financial support to homeowners in the county to kind of make it easier and more affordable for folks to get solar. And then the Solar Energy Grant is designed to assist Prince George's residents in accessing solar PV technologies, and grant awards, once they're announced, are available on a first come, first serve basis. And as I said, DOE will begin to take applications in the coming weeks. So stay tuned on that.
Pause just for a second. For people who are maybe in a situation where you're not able to read the screen, I do want to let you know that I put those phone numbers and email address in the chat, but I'll also read them right now because Katie did mention that there was some for the Solarize campaign that you could call the Department of Environment. That phone number is 301-883-5810. And you can also email clean E, as in clean, the letter E, at co.pg.md.us. And again, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, we did put those links in the chat where you're watching. Go ahead, Katie. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Kyla. The next project is a Climate 101. So actually, a lot of the information that I shared with you at the beginning part of this presentation is available on this Climate 101 site. So I designed this interactive 30-minute training for county employees, and it's now available for the public. It's on the DOE Climate and Energy Division's website. The learning objectives are to just give everybody a baseline understanding of the science behind human climate change, how climate is impacting Prince George's County, and the county goals, progress, and solutions that folks can implement in everyday life as well. So if you all are interested, please check it out as well. And then I think this is the last slide about the opportunities and the programs that we have going on. But the Sustainable Energy Workforce Development Program is administered by Prince George's Community College in partnership with DOE. It provides free sustainable energy courses to county residents to build skills needed in the renewable energy industry. If anybody is interested in taking these free courses, you can contact John Deadweiler, the program director, who's lovely, at deadyjt@pgcc.edu for more information. And then this is the last slide that I have for this section. So this is a screenshot on the left of community-wide emissions reduction progress. So the county's climate action plan goal, as I mentioned a few slides ago, is a 50% reduction in community-wide greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, based off of 2005 levels, and then carbon neutrality by 2050. The state of Maryland also has quite lofty climate action goals from the Climate Solutions Now Act of 2022, and it's a 60% reduction in emissions by 2031 from 2006 levels. And I think that the formatting may have gotten messed up on the left-hand slide, so I apologize. But basically what it's depicting is that overall, in the past 20-ish years or so, greenhouse gas emissions in the county have decreased by around 28%, which means that the county has 5 years left to decrease its emissions by another 22% if we are to meet our climate action plan goals. So I think that this just goes again to show that there's, everybody has to be on board, and it requires a whole of government, a whole of community approach to achieving these goals. All right, the final section that I have for you all today is just a little bit about solutions that I think are really impactful. I think a lot of the time in the climate movement, we try to say how important or how individual actions aren't as important as, systems-wide change. And while it's true that we need systems-wide change to decrease greenhouse gas emissions on the scale needed to avoid the worst, I think that kind of detracts from how important individual actions are and how powerful they can be for collective change. And so one of my favorite quotes is listed here. It's from Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, who's one of my personal climate heroes. It says, "What this moment calls for is a mosaic of voices, the full spectrum of ideas and insights in how we can turn things around." So these are some of my personal favorite solutions and some of the most impactful. These are all from Drawdown, which Drawdown is I don't even know how you would describe Drawdown, but Drawdown is a research-based organization that for years has compiled the top 200 climate solutions. And you can go to their website there and explore all of these wonderful solutions. But some of the ones that I chose to highlight here are one, heat pumps, which replace fossil fuel-based heating systems by using electricity to efficiently move heat from one place to another. Empower Maryland has some resources on home energy efficiency for homeowners and I believe renters as well that you can check out. And I know the Maryland State Legislature is currently, or in the next session, they're going to be defining clean heat standards, which will hopefully help to decrease fossil fuel usage with with heating buildings. Next is reducing meat consumption. Agricultural emissions are huge, and especially for meat production. And so avoiding forest loss associated with greenhouse gas emissions is also huge. So reducing your meat consumption is a huge individual action that you can take to be a climate champion. Next is taking part in the PGC compost program. So all residents in the county who receive county provided trash and recycling services can participate in this program. If regular food items go to the landfill, they emit a powerful greenhouse gas called methane. And so by using the composting service, that food waste goes into the compost facility, and they do a bunch of really wonderful processes to it, and it ends up we end up reusing a lot of that food matter and putting it back into the soil, and it doesn't emit that powerful greenhouse gas. The next is, as I showed before, the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in the county from community-wide emissions is from transportation. So sustainable alternatives to driving alone in your car include e-bikes, taking the bus, which is free, carpooling, which I recognize is not easiest for everybody, but it's something that is very impactful.
Katie, can I jump in here with just a couple questions from viewers?
Yeah.
So first of all, specifically related to composting, a viewer has asked, is there a contract available within the Prince George's County Compost Program for you municipalities to participate?
Ooh.
And if you don't know the answer to that, we can try to find a place to send this person if we need to do that.
That's a good question. And actually, I can just screenshot that.
Okay.
And I can ask the associate director of the Resource Recovery Districts that tomorrow.
Okay. So if you grab a screenshot of that for that question, then what I'm going to do for this viewer, again, I'm just going to put the Office of Human Rights email address up on the screen again. I know there isn't a way for me to safely and privately get your email address, viewer. So if you, again, send an email here and say, I'm the person who wanted to know about municipalities and composting, can you let me know what Katie says? I will be able to pass that on to you. And then the next question that we have from a viewer is, and they do say it related to time. So just making sure that if we have time to get to this, but what they're wondering is, they were saying that they and their colleague were listening to a discussion about climates in different states. In particular, it was stated that some areas that have a large population of various religions have better climates with less pollution than areas that have a lower religious population. Are you able to speak to this?
Honestly, I am not familiar with that. So I don't feel comfortable speaking to it. But that's something that I will definitely read into. That is very intriguing. I'd never heard of that before.
Right.
Yeah, and I can dig up some literature if there's any studies on that, and get you any information, follow up with you as well.
That would be great. If you send it to me, we are able to Dr. Stewart, we do have Dr. Stewart's contact information, so we would be able to pass that on. Thank you so much, Katie, and back to you. I appreciate you allowing for this interruption.
No, absolutely. And actually, I'm done with my presentation. Thank you all so much for your time and your energy today. Really appreciate it. And let me know if you have any other questions.
Well, that was amazing. So first of all, thank you so much for the detail and the information. And I love the fact that you had national and then local. And I love the fact that it was interactive, and we had lots of nice comments coming in while we were doing that. So thank you. I do want to talk about something that you mentioned. And I think you kind of touched on it with your last slide. Like, we talked about carpooling, we talked about composting. But one of the things, you talked about this is a whole government, whole of community approach. And one of the things that we try to do with the Office of Human Rights whenever we do events and we talk to people about, really big issues, right, that impact people, is what can we do? How do we go away and feel like there's a message of hope and a message of encouragement? So I wanted to talk more about that whole of government, whole of community approach for our viewers today or people tuning in on demand later. Like, what's something that they can walk away with and be like, oh, here's something I can really do that's going to make a difference?
Honestly, as I don't know if it's the right word, as cliche or not really believable as it sounds, I'm going to take a note from another one of my climate heroes, Dr. Catherine Hayhoe, who says that one of the most important things that any of us can do to address the climate crisis is to talk about it. I think this goes more into my first, like the interactive activity that I had at the beginning of naming our climate emotions. I think that oftentimes, myself included, we can kind of just, we're wired as humans to compartmentalize things so that we don't have to think about them, because otherwise it would take up our entire life. But those things, that ends up kind of hurting us in the long run and stifles progress. And so when we talk about it, even if you don't know all of the science, or you don't know really, what the greenhouse gas effect is, or anything like that, what you do know is your emotions and how you feel about it. And talking about that with your friends, your family, is cathartic, one, and two, it also, plants a seed in those other people's minds that, oh, it is okay to talk about this. Maybe I'll learn more about it. And that's kind of how the domino effect happens, and that's how change happens.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm just going to repeat, because we had a little trouble with the audio, but really one of the things that you said just now that I want to highlight is naming the emotion, naming the feeling. And I appreciated the activity that you did, because it's kind of a grounding exercise, right? Like, those of us who have been through difficult times, sometimes someone will say, okay, well, just stop. What does it feel like inside your body right now? And you're like, oh, it feels tight, and that just kind of lowers the temperature a little bit. We actually have another question from a viewer, which actually corresponds with the question that Tiana and I had. So Tiana, do you want to ask this question from the Mat Lab, and I'll put it on the screen here?
Sure. So it says, how will the proposed data centers impact the county? Has there been a study regarding the impact? And I think my question was similar to that, in the sense that I think your presentation said 17% of the county's greenhouse emissions come from buildings and facilities, and 22% come from commercial energy.
Yeah, great question. And I think this is something at the top of everybody's minds now, right? Not just in Maryland, Virginia, but really everywhere, is the idea of these data centers. It's my understanding that there is a data center task force for the county, and County Executive Brave Boy issued a executive order halting any sort of decisions on data centers until the end of the year. So that's halted. As far as how has there been a study regarding the impact, I think that's part of what they're conducting with the data center task force, is looking at these impacts. And just as far as, Tiana, you mentioned energy use being the third. Well, so residential energy use is the second largest source of emissions in community, and then the third is residential. Either, don't quote me on that. I might have them flipped, but either way, building energy use is a huge source of greenhouse gas emissions because of burning fossil fuels. So personally, as a climate scientist, as an environmentalist, I obviously have concerns over the data centers as well. But I know that the county is looking into those environmental impacts.
I'm just going to pull this slide back up, actually. I think this is the right slide. I just want to look at it again. This is it, right? So
Yeah.
this is it. So, okay, first of all, I'm old. So can you tell that I'm trying to look through the bottom of my glasses so I can read this? So somebody who's younger than me should read this out loud. Can one of you do this? Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sources of greenhouse gas emissions in the county. So for community-wide emissions by sector, transportation is 48%, residential energy is 23%, commercial energy is 22%, and other would be 7%. And then emissions from county operations. I don't know if that's just government or all businesses in general.
It's just government. Yeah.
Okay. So solid waste is 57%. Buildings and facilities would be 17%. Streetlights and traffic signals are 2%. The vehicle fleet is 18%, and transit fleet is 5%.
What is, I'm not trying to be funny. I actually don't know this. Like, what is the solid waste that is 57% of the county's operations?
Yeah. So solid waste, particularly, when organic matter goes to the landfill, it emits a powerful greenhouse gas called methane, which is actually 30 times more potent than carbon dioxide. And so part of the emissions comes from that. And then other emissions come from just the waste treatment processes as well.
All right, thank you. I was just, for those watching at home, we have a couple more minutes. If you want to type quickly, we can take some more questions for Katie. And Tiana, do you have another question?
I do. So should the data center be approved, would that, like your presentation said, we have 5 more years to reach our goal in 2030, and we still have 22% left. So if the data center is approved and built and everything, what can we do to offset that in 5 years, or now less than 5 years, 4 years? Like the 22% number that we need to hit?
Yeah, it really depends on the energy load and energy needs of the potential data center. The only way to really kind of nullify those emissions, and you also have to keep into account or take into account the water usage of data centers as well. But it would be to offset the emissions with renewables, or create or make the data centers completely electric and utilize 100% clean renewable energy, which I honestly not familiar with if that has yet been done yet at other data center sites.
Our friend and colleague, Dr. Audrey Lau, who, as I said, is not feeling well, so it's really wonderful that Dr. Lau is able to tune in now with us. She is wondering, and I think this is a follow-up question to Tiana's question about the 2030 goal, is the county on track to meet the goal of reducing emissions as it stands right now?
Yeah, so actually, if you can pull up the slide, I think it's my third to last slide. Oh, I can do it.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Nope, you're
over to you.
You're good. Yeah, so on this slide, and apologies again, I think the formatting got a little bit wonky, but the bar graphs, the bar graph on the very left depicts the total community-wide emissions in 2005. So as you can see, it's around 12 million metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. And the bar chart all the way on the right is the amount of community-wide emissions in the year 2023. So as you can see, the emissions have gone down, and that's mainly because of the increased amount of renewables that have been added to the electricity grid. So we're not burning as many fossil fuels, and then also the building energy efficiency as well has increased. So we've decreased as a county by 28% since 2005. we have another 22% to go by 2030. That is going to take a lot of, effort and additional renewables on the grid. And so it's going to be an uphill battle over the next 5 years, but that's definitely, something to aspire to. And that's why we all need to get on the same page and work together.
So we've got, I know we're almost out of time. We have actually we have a comment. I'll start with the comment here from one of our viewers, actually the viewer who asked some questions about municipalities. Looking forward to the climate summit. The town of Brentwood will be there, is excited about the forthcoming climate action plan based on the Prince George's County plan. Thanks for the presentation and collaboration. They just came in with another question, but I'll go back to an earlier question first from Dr. Stewart, who says, what can students do to help? Actually, how can teachers provide more comprehensive instruction about the climate to our students?
That's a great question. Wow. I think, well, first of all, there's going to be some very amazing, inspiring youth climate leaders from the PGCPS system at the summit. There's 4 of them who are giving a brief talk at the beginning of opening remarks. And so I'm super excited to hear what they've put together. All of their resumes are so impressive. Like, they should each have my job. They're just amazing. So not enough can be said for the importance of youth. And, I think we often lose sight of the fact that, climate action is really about fighting for a future for youth and for the people who will take over for us. And so I think just encouraging students to, again, talk with their parents, talk with their friends about the climate crisis, get them resources and tools to be powerful communicators and be change makers. Because the youth, Generation Alpha and Generation Z are awesome. They have guts.
Yeah, they really are. We're at time, but also that is a wonderful way to close, because it is absolutely true. Every time we're around the young people, it's like, oh my gosh, you guys are amazing. You guys are amazing. So just shout out to all the young people out there. You guys are amazing. We are out of time. I know we didn't get to all the questions. I'm so sorry, but please do email our office at ohrstaff@pgcmd.gov. And I'll try to coordinate any communication with Katie or answer any questions that you have. Katie, thank you so much for being with us and for the work that you are doing for the county. For all of you viewers, it is awesome that you were here. Thank you so much for being interested and engaged. You are what we do. And it is just so heartening to be able to get to do this and hear and read all of your interests in the programs. We have a bunch of other great things coming up, and I invite you to check out our webpage with the Office of Human Rights. You can go to civilrights.mypgc.us to learn more about what we're doing. And please do visit the library at pgcmls.info/events to see all the things they have coming up for you every single day. Please join our 2 agencies next week as we're collaborating again. We have 2 great events on Tuesday. First, the Lunch and Learn at noon features Dr. Eunice in conversation about her debut novel on radicalization called Fundamentally. And that evening, Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m., please join us at Mixed Food Hall in Mount Rainier for the last Solidarity Stories book group of the year, where we talk about a book, because in December we're just going to share books. And in November we are talking about Yellowbirds. That's next Tuesday evening, so please come out and do that. Again, thank you, Katie. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and we hope to see you all again soon.
Right. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.